Greetings, everyone. It's Kalei Ross with In Pursuit of Purity and KaleiRoss.com. I love learning about chocolate and all facets of the chocolate making industry because chocolate cultivates connections. So join me on this journey. I'd love to have you come along with me. I hope you enjoy these videos.
Well, welcome everyone. It's Kalei Ross with In Pursuit of Purity and KaleiRoss.com. And I am so thrilled. I am being joined by Judith Hanson today of Nadia Indulgences. She has an amazing story that has just really been so captivating to me. And so I am so thrilled to have this opportunity to have a chance to actually talk with her. Judith, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much, Kelly, for having me. I appreciate it. Hello, everyone.
I am so excited. Like I said, Judith has an amazing story to share. I came across her beautiful indulgences on Instagram and wanted to learn more about her. And so, Judith, can you just start by sharing what your journey has been like to get you to this point of where you're making chocolate?
Okay. The journey actually started when I was a child. I loved baking and pastry and anything artistic. So I did that, and it was wonderful. It was fun. Grew up in another country, actually, and ended up, long story short, becoming a physician. And I was a practicing physician for over 12 years, actually. During that time, I baked and made desserts, and that actually made me very happy, especially during training when you're always starving because you're always awake, always treating people. And then, while not that long ago, actually, my father passed away unexpectedly,
Mm,
and that's when I decided to take a step back and take a look at what I was doing and decided I wanted to do something for myself because all
mm,
along I had been doing things for other people. I became a physician to help people. That's what I wanted to do. And no
mhm,
regrets there. I mean, it has been the most wonderful thing ever. And when my father died, though, I suddenly decided, well, maybe I should take a little bit of time for me and do something that was for me. And I have to say that that was difficult
mm,
because I had to grapple with feelings of guilt. And I mean, I asked myself how selfish to go from treating people who needed help to now
mhm,
thinking of myself. Um, and so that was pretty tough. It took about a year, actually,
mhm.
for that to happen. I then decided, just it was fortuitous. There was a culinary school where we were living at the time, and I dragged my husband. They were having an open house, and I dragged him there. We went, we sat, we listened, and by the end, I decided, okay, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go to culinary school.
Wow.
Yeah. So I did that. And I am a classically trained chef. I did the whole 4 years. I did not do baking and pastry as a major, so to speak. I did savory. And so when I graduated, that's what my degree is actually in.
Mhm,
However, during the time at culinary school, we had certain classes. There was baking and pastry, and we could do electives. And I chose to do chocolates and centerpieces. And baking and pastry, I think, really appealed to me because it's science.
mhm.
Um, in university, I had a degree in biochemistry. This was before going to medical school, and so the science behind baking, pastry, definitely chocolates, really appealed to me. So uh, that's why I went down that road afterwards, after I graduated.
I love that you talk about the science behind it because I think that a lot of times we underestimate all the steps necessary to create this amazing product. You just think about throwing some ingredients together and voila, you get
Mhm.
something. But there are so many things that could go wrong in that entire process.
Yes, exactly. That's so true. And chocolate, as you know, can be finicky. And I like that. I embrace that. It's okay. There are times it's frustrating, of course, but overall, it is very enjoyable.
What is it that led you to want to focus on wedding cakes of all cakes?
That was an entrepreneurial decision, really. Being a type A personality, I don't do things halfway. Never have,
Mhm,
probably never will in my life. And so, for me, everything that I create, a part of me goes in it. And I love that because I get to connect with the people that I'm making it for, which goes back right to taking care of people, actually. So it's a full
Mhm.
circle, as it turns out. But when I first started, it wasn't wedding cakes, it was celebration cake. I mean, it was basically any kind of cake,
Mhm.
and which was fine. However, people, I don't think they really appreciated all the work that goes into a celebration cake.
Mm,
They
mhm.
think you just slap something together and it's done. Um, which you certainly can do, but if you want a professional looking cake, it takes time. And I
Right.
have always done bespoke cakes. So my cakes for children, let's say, you're not going to see it everywhere. I hand draw, I hand paint, I do everything. So each child has a special, one of a kind cake. So people want that, but they don't necessarily understand or can accept the finances that go with that.
Mhm.
So I made the decision to go the wedding cake route because it allowed me to express my artistic side even more, and people were willing. They understand that a wedding cake is a work of art. And
Mhm.
structure, of course, is very important. You don't want someone to be cutting the cake and the whole thing falls over, and so it's a lot more involved.
Mhm.
And I think because of that, people are more appreciative, and they think, okay, it's going to be worth the price.
Mhm.
So it was really a business decision, first, and then secondly, it really did enable me to express my artistic side. I have my own way of expressing that, and for example, I don't like symmetry at all. I just don't like it, and so I don't know if you've noticed in, I mean, practically almost all of my cakes, you know. It's asymmetric. The decor is off to one side mostly, or that's, I guess, my signature. It's just who I am. And so the wedding cakes and doing bespoke wedding cakes allowed me to really express that. And it was
Mhm.
appreciated. So it was wonderful.
Well, the beauty of the cakes, despite the asymmetry, if you will, I think of the Leaning Tower of Pisa, right? I mean, it's
Yes.
something that people will go to because it is unique and
Mhm.
it's beautiful at the same time.
Oh, thank you. It reminded me actually of Ikebana. I don't know how familiar
Ah,
you are with
uh-huh.
Ikebana. I actually took a course in high school and I loved it. The asymmetry, and it was just beautiful. And I think that has gone with me throughout my life. So
Mhm.
I'm able to use that in my cakes. So I'm happy with
Well, look,
that.
right. That is amazing how all these things that you experience or you're exposed to in the past, how you really are able to bring that into the present through
Yes.
your cakes. And now tell us about chocolates. How did you move into that direction?
Ah, the chocolates. The chocolates, I think, had been calling my name for years. Because when I was in culinary school, now, having said this, before I even get into that, growing up, I had chocolates. I was not really a big chocolate lover at all. And it was the chocolate that you got from the supermarket, whatever.
Mhm.
When I went to culinary school, and for the first time I was introduced to couverture chocolate,
Mm.
it was, ooh, this is something different. This
Yeah.
is really great. And I love dark chocolate, as it turns out. So, I mean, it was wonderful. Um, and as I said, in culinary school, I chose to do a chocolate and centerpiece course, and it was great. And actually, even before then, throughout everything, if there was something at school, I competed. I did the desserts. Even though I was doing it as a pastry, as a savory chef, I did compete under desserts. When something was done, I was the one who made the champagne truffles. It
Mm.
was just always there, and but I didn't really recognize it. And then um, 2 years ago, on Instagram, I was going through and I followed a few chocolate people, and I saw the beautiful shine and everything, and it just spoke to me. And I was like, I need to make chocolates. That's it. That's what I need to do. And so I just started from there. I've done classes, I've done all kinds of things um, to get training online and in person. And I love it. The thing about it is, again, I learned in culinary school about the science behind chocolates. And I think that's what really appealed to me. You know, it's it's wonderful. You have to think about what you're doing. You have to be cognizant. You've got to be present while you're doing it.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying anything that you don't know. And it's really wonderful. I was a um, I was a radiologist. I did an interventional radiology, so I did procedures, and you've got to be very good with your hands. So there was a lot of manual dexterity and practice over the years that I have. And I found that with cakes as well as chocolates, I was really able to utilize that. And
Hmm.
so that's kind of what has happened. And I love the chocolate. I can be creative with designs, I can be creative with flavors. It's a wonderful, wonderful place to be. It's my happy place now.
Tell us about the flavors. What types of flavors are really the most intriguing to you?
Ooh, intriguing to me. I would have to say definitely ones that I'm not familiar with. So they may not be wonderful for everybody. I mean, I do like spices. Um, I'm originally from Jamaica, so I do like
Mm,
all sorts of peppers and cayennes and things like that. And I like combining, as I said, flavors that wouldn't go together. I did recently come across a turmeric with chocolate combination, and I thought
mm.
that was amazing. Turmeric, not necessarily for everyone, but
Mhm,
personally, I thought that was really great. Um, but I do like doing things like a little cashew, for example. Like I did a cashew praline with a coconut crunch, which is
mm,
very nice, or roasted coconut and things like that. I don't think that's too far-fetched. I think most
mhm,
people can appreciate that, even though they
mhm.
probably would not have thought of putting it together.
Sure.
So I've done that and people have loved it. Um, so things like that. Right now, I'm working on a black sesame with lemon lime.
Oh my.
So, really nice things. I do have obviously, the tried and true ones that everyone loves. Salted sea salt caramel, for example, one of my favorites. Espresso. Sometimes just keeping it clean and simple and straightforward is anything but simple, but
Mhm.
it's such a delight to have. So I dabble both areas.
Well, I know that on your Instagram page as well as on your website, your chocolates are so beautiful. It looks like a jewelry box.
Oh,
Uh,
thank you.
that Tell us about the designs that you use. What inspires you to create them?
Right. Um, it's a very organic process, I find for me. Design in general. First of all, it's always a work in progress because I use organic cocoa butter, and that was something to get used to using. It's very temperamental, and you've got to be very careful with temperatures and everything so it behaves the way we want it to behave. But having said that, I am in two different schools. One is the abstract. I like abstract for certain flavors, and then others are a little bit more organized, a little bit more intentional. Having said that, I think for me, even those are still somewhat abstract. I did um, a bar, I think, not that long ago, and it had flowers, but the flowers were not your typical flowers. They're kind of half there, half not. You looked at it and you got the effect of flowers.
Mm,
And that's what I like. It really
mhm.
is that kind of a feeling. And it's really, for me, it's really a feeling. But as I said, it's a very organic process. I'll start off with one thing and kind of see where it goes. So,
Mm.
and sometimes I know exactly where it's going, and other times it's just how it ends up.
Well,
It's
it's a journey,
exploration.
right?
I'm sorry?
Yes, exploration, yes.
Yes.
You've made big career changes, obviously, and it was precipitated by a very significant event in your life. What would you share with people that are kind of feeling that tension for themselves? They may have obviously invested time, finances to go to school or in whatever profession that they're in, and they're finding themselves, maybe being called in essence to a different direction. What advice would you give them?
Um, that is such a good question. I think what's necessary is to make an informed decision. If you have been doing it can be a long time, but it doesn't have to really be. But if you've been doing something and you have invested, time, effort, energy, finances, the whole works. Um, you have to realize that when you do make a shift, especially depending on the kind of shift, everything in life is going to change. It's going to change for you, and you're not the only one affected. It's going to change for your family and your friends as well.
Mhm.
Um, I think the best thing would be to equip yourself with as much knowledge as possible. Find someone who is doing what you think you would like to do and really talk to them. Get the real picture. Um, because, for me, for example, it was a big change, a huge change, with time, with everything, certainly with finances. I mean, which is a big deal, but on two levels. One is the what you see on the surface, the finances, sure, but it's also what it represents. I mean, I
Mhm.
used to get a paycheck in my name. And for me at the time, that was part of my identity. It
Mhm.
was me being independent. I was married, then it didn't matter, but I was making my own money. So when I decided to make the switch, and like anything else, you don't know, is it going to work? It's a gamble, really. So you're trying
Mhm.
something. Um, and it was like, oh, I really had to look at myself and say, okay, is it worth it? And
Mhm.
eventually I decided, yes, it was worth it. It really
Mhm.
was worth it. And so I went for it. And so I would encourage anyone, if they're really thinking of making a big change, go ahead and make it. As long as they've done enough research, they have figured out what life is going to be like, or get a better idea of what life is going to be like, and realize that, yes, they're willing to deal with that, and that it is going to
Mhm.
affect their family, especially family first and foremost. When I decided to go to
Right.
culinary school, um, my entire family took a big hit. School started very early. I had a small twins. I had an older child, and everybody was up like at 4 o'clock in the morning because I had to get everyone ready. My husband was up and helping, and we had to get everybody out the door so I could get to culinary school by 6 o'clock, so I could get everything
Mhm.
prepared and drop the kids off before. And by the time I finished culinary school, our older daughter had just gotten her license, and she was able to help pick up the twins and things like that. So it affected everyone, not just
Mhm.
me. And I think if people are going to make that kind of a change, then they have to realize that it will affect their loved ones, family, and friends.
Mhm.
And they have to be willing to
Wow.
deal with it.
It it has a ripple effect, obviously.
Yes, yes, most definitely. Most definitely. But it's quite joyous, and I mean, I wouldn't change it. I have loved what I've done. I have always wanted to be, when I was younger, I was fascinated. I wanted to be one of those people um, who had an interesting life. They've done this, they've done that. I never really thought about it as actually, applying to myself. It was a dream kind of thing. But like now talking about it, it's like, oh, well, I guess I've kind of done a few things. So it's not bad.
Well, Judith, what is it that you would like the viewers to take away from our time together?
I think it is artistic drive and
Mm.
belief in oneself. If you are doing anything entrepreneurial, of course, but especially something artistic, you have to believe that what you're doing will appeal to people. For me, that was also a very difficult transition. In medicine, you study, you know what you know. It's very factual, and um, that's it. It's factual, no questions asked. But with art, there's so much, there's nuance. Everyone has different tastes, everyone has different appreciations. You have to believe in yourself and that what you're doing will, if not at first, eventually will appeal to someone. If you like it, there is somebody else out there who's going to like it. And you have to believe in yourself that it will happen. You can't give up. Those first few years are always difficult. They can be very slow. You can start to doubt yourself, ask, well, what are you doing? Why are you doing this? Um, and I think that's really it. But you have to just keep on going. Don't stop, because when it does get difficult and you really want to stop, that's when you need the drive, because that's when a
Mhm.
lot of people fall off.
Yeah,
And the ones who end up making it push through.
sure.
And so that's what I would say. Just keep going, keep at it, and it will happen. Don't expect it to be fast. You have to pay your dues,
Mhm.
but it will happen.
Yes, thank you so much for that bit of encouragement because I know that as people, anything that we do, we always need that bit of encouragement, that drive to keep us going. And so, thank you so much. This has been a great time of being able to reflect on your journey, and I think that your journey is certainly one that's going to encourage people, regardless of where they are at in their personal journey in life, whether they're in chocolate or not. So, thank you so
Mhm.
much for your time, Judith.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. This has been wonderful, Kelly. And thank you, everyone.